Welcome to Raising Extreme Athletes Uncensored. This is your reality check and home for uncensored, trusted advice and stories from the trailblazers who came before us. Because it takes a strategic village to raise an extreme pro athlete. This is your village. Today, we're going to be talking about the orchestrator. I know that sounds kind of funky. What does that even mean, the orchestrator? Well, with this episode, you're going to understand who is the actual orchestrator in your family for making shit happen. Because without the orchestrator, nothing will get done. I'm Marina, your host, mother of two aspiring rock climbers and wife to an extreme athlete. Orchestration. What exactly does that even mean? What does it mean to be an orchestrator? Okay, here it is. It is literally who is behind all of that happens. Most of the time, the person who is doing the orchestrating makes it look so natural that even the kids think that it was all up to them who has done it. But it is the person literally pretty much orchestrating everything in the background. Needless to say, there has to be an orchestrator. In our particular family, I am the orchestrator because everything that happens because an orchestrator was behind it. Okay, so here is some ideas of what orchestration even means. Whenever we travel, the family has one rule. We need to be traveling where there is climbing. Fine, I love travel. I don't care. However, what does that mean, climbing? What does that even mean? Like, okay, so there's a rock right there or there's a gym. Who's orchestrating that? I am orchestrating like the plan of where is there a great gym for them to go to? Where are there rock climbing opportunities, like to actually go to the rock, to the crag? Now, my husband had a very, very serious accident, and you could listen to, the whole episode about injuries in extreme sports in general. His was a climbing accident. He used to be the main belayer of the kids and pretty much taking them, even though I was still orchestrating the actual trip to the rock. So now I need to find somebody, because my husband, the injury that occurred has, really taken his toll on fear and whatnot, which I understand, totally fine, but you still need to find somebody who will be belaying my kids because they are still kids, right? You can't let them go on your own. It's just not right. Even if my 18-year-old now says that he can go, but not when you're in a totally foreign place. So you look for a guide, but you can't also find a guide for just anybody in your sport because your kid is past the limit of just a hobbyist, right? So the guide needs to be advanced enough to know and to take the kids to those particular advancements. That's all orchestration. I'm the one looking for those guides. I'm the one orchestrating. So another perfect example of orchestration is when we travel to a certain place, I look for gyms. I contact the coaches because I want my kids to also meet other kids. Even when my husband was climbing, and he's going back to climbing, eventually. But regardless, when we go to so they can meet other kids, that's orchestration, right? Also, for instance, meetups with other people to go on different climbing trips together. There's always somebody that's doing that because you're a 12-year-old, you're a 15-year-old. Chances are they're not gonna do it, right? So there's somebody that is always orchestrating everything there. It's a good example of just what happened recently as far as a climbing trip. We went to, I think it was called Bernal in Mexico. Peña de Bernal is the 5th largest monolith in the world. It's also very well known for climbing, mainly for multi-pitch, but you could do sports climbing. My kids are more into sports climbing and bouldering versus multi-pitch. You guys might have known what multi-pitch is by watching the Dawn Wall or even Alex Honnold before he actually did the free solo. It's all multi-pitch. No, my kids like to do the smaller one, just one pitch, but you could do really hardcore stuff. Anyways, because my husband was not at all at that point able to even walk to where they would be climbing from to belay them, I had to find the right guide because otherwise I can't get my trip because I wanted to go and hang out in this area. I don't climb, I don't belay. So it took a lot of orchestration to find the right guide. Charged me an arm and a leg. I mean, we're talking $500 for Mexico for 2 days. Yeah, crazy. But the point is, otherwise, none of it would have happened. We would have arrived there. They wouldn't have known where to go or anything. At this point, I've already filtered him. I screened him. I knew that he was, first of all, trustworthy. Secondly, I found recommendations. This is all part of that orchestration, right? So that's something that is really, really important. You cannot get like those cookie cutter guides when your child is way above the cookie cutter. Your kid could basically be the guide at this point, right? So you need to find all of that. This is all part of the orchestration. Also, let's talk about competitions. Who do you think is orchestrating that? Yeah, maybe your gym or maybe that team is saying, hey, there's a competition, but somebody's got to be behind the scenes to make sure that your kid can go pay for the competition, have the food ready, maybe arrange a carpool. That's all orchestration. Who is the orchestrator in your household? Because you need to take ownership of that and be proud of it. That is a hard job to do. And it's an awesome job, but it's also a job of somebody doing that orchestration, because if there is no orchestrator, the person that's behind the scenes, very little actually happens. So if you ever again, I'm going to go back to this movie a lot. Unfortunately, there's a very little references for us to follow, but King Richard was a perfect one. He was the orchestrator of everything. Everything. Without him, there would be no Venus and Serena. He was an orchestrator. He was the parent manager. He was so much more. He is definitely an inspiration. He was definitely a weird guy, but that's a whole other story, right? So who's the orchestrator in your family? Do you need help figuring out how to be the proper orchestrator? I'm here to help you with that. I would love that. Remember, it takes a village, a strategic village, to help your kid. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave me a review and share it with your friends. And remember, I'm here to help you with this journey.